Championship started the traditional way again this year with the Tour de Total, held in Natal on the 26th of February. This time, however, it'll be a one-day event in an effort to bring down costs. The reigning champions since 1992, Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide, in their Class A Toyota Conquest, were flagged off at the start in Durban by the city's mayor, Councillor Mike Lipschitz. 44 teams were entered for the rally, which would stretch over a total special stage distance of 150 kilometres in the Durban-Pietermaritzburg area. The opening salvos of the 1994 National Rally Championship were fired in stage 1 of the Tour, Alexandra Park in Pietermaritzburg, and Damso and Bonafide were out to set a blistering pace. This combination won the event last year, which set the scene for their championship success. Making his debut in the ex-Sarel van der Merwe Sassel Ford Laser, and with new navigator Guy Hodgson in the hot seat, Enzo Kuhn wasn't quite at ease yet, but he didn't let that bother him too much as he threw the car with abandon through the corners. He was entered as a privateer, but substantial works backing and his natural talent will certainly have him extremely competitive this season. Hannes Grobler and Martin Butter in the ex-Works BP Nissan Sentra also going great guns, and also being a private entry with factory help. Jannie Habik is running his private Volkswagen Golf 16 valve for the second year in a row, but for 1994 he secured the services of Douglas Judd as navigator. Having driven together in 1989 and 1991 before Judd left for Nissan, they should soon have the old magic working for them again. Filming rally cars going flat out can sometimes be a bit of a hazard, as our cameraman found out. Also in the privately entered Nissan Sentra and going through his paces was Nuno de Cunha, partnered by longtime navigator Paul Riard. And while the spectators enjoyed the spectacular driving, probably more than our hapless cameraman, the competitors were told that none of the times in the first stage would count, as the clocks didn't work for the first 5 cars. But the clocks did work in the second stage, and Damso and Bonafide set off to show the rest of the field that they meant business. Also meaning business were Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson in the Ford, and although Kuhn was still struggling to get used to the car's left-hand drive setup and the handling and power characteristics, they clocked the 4th fastest time in what was now effectively the first stage of the rally. Hannes Grobler and Martin Butter in the Sentra were 7 seconds quicker in stage 2, while Habik and Judd in the Golf were 2 seconds quicker still. Leading Class B contenders Leon Butter and Jeff Tyra were looking good, but they rolled their Golf out of the event just after this corner. Last season's champion privateers Etienne Lorenz and Robert Paisley were quickest in Class C, while Jürgen Fecken and Neil Fourie, also in a Class C conquest, lost some time, coming in 5th in stage 2. Alan Mitrovic and Mike Burrows in their Class C Golf were going well and moving as fast as they could. Having won both stage 2 and 3, Damso and Bonafide in the Toyota Conquest, the only officially entered works car in the rally, set out to build on their lead of 16 seconds over Habik and Judd, while Kuhn and Hodgson tried to catch Grobler and Butter for 3rd place. The gap between the Ford and the Nissan was only 5 seconds after the 3rd stage. Alicio Miranda and navigator Francois Pretorius had a terrible first stage and didn't complete it, and although they were out of the rally, they decided that they still needed some practice. Lying second overall in Class A after stage 2 and 3 were Jannie Habik and Douglas Judd in their Golf. They were leading the Nissan team of Hannes Grobler and Martin Butter by 6 seconds, while the second Nissan pairing of Nuno de Cunha and Paul Riard were chasing a 24-second deficit behind Kuhn and Hodgson. One of the teams giving the Class A and B cars a run for their money was the Class C Toyota Conquest of Glenn Durman and Dave Lukowitz, lying 3rd in their class at this point. First in Class B in their Golf were Brady Dabner and Neil Watt. Last year's Class C champions, privateers Etienne Lorenz and Robert Paisley in their Toyota Conquest, are one of 14 private teams benefiting from a support program from Total, driving under the Team Total banner. Damso and Bonafide won the 4th stage as well, stretching their lead over Habik and Judd to 29 seconds. And it didn't seem as if anyone would be able to catch the champions. The battle for 3rd between Kuhn and Hodgson and Grobler and Butter, however, was much closer. Kuhn tried to close the gap of 8 seconds, but Grobler would have nothing of it and stretch it by a further 8 seconds in stage 5. In the process, he won the stage, beating Damso by 11 seconds. Habik and Judd were still going great guns to try and catch the leading car, and they did a terrific job by pulling back 5 seconds on Damso and Bonafide. This brought the lead down to 24 seconds. Did Damso have a problem, being only third fastest on the stage? Eliseo Miranda and Francois Pretorius were still getting in some much-needed rally practice, although none of their stage times were official. Glenn Durman, driving in front of his home crowd, and Dave Lukowitz from Pretoria were still haunting some of the Class B cars, while Etienne Lourens and Rob Paisley were defending their Class C title with great gusto. The battle amongst the Class A cars was as hot as ever, and 2 cars shared the fastest time with Damso and Bonafide in Stage 6. The Toyota crew were going all out for another stage win. Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hudson's Ford shared the fastest time in the previous stage with the Toyota, and it seemed as if Kuhn was coming to grips with the 7-speed shift left-hand drive rally car. The third joint winner of Stage 6 was the Nissan Sentra of Hannes Grobler and Martin Butte. They were still lying third overall, 16 seconds ahead of the Ford. Yanni Habik and Douglas Judd were still second overall, having lost 2 seconds to Damso and Bonafide in the previous stage, and trailing by 26 seconds at the start of Stage 7. Eliseo Miranda and Francois Pretorius were still treating the Tour de Total as a practice run, and they must have been cursing their bad luck since they didn't seem to be having any problems now. Nuno de Cunha and Paul Riard in the second Nissan Sentra were running steadily in 5th place, just over a minute behind the laser of Kuhn and Hodson. Glenn Durman and Dave Lukowitz, who lost a lot of time in the second stage, were slowly but surely making it up, bringing the gap between them and the leading Class C cars down in the last 2 stages. Still leading Class B by a comfortable margin were Brady Dubner and Neil Watt in their Golf. Etienne Lourens and Robert Paisley were continuing their good form of last year and leading Class C by 7 seconds. They were also leading all the Class B cars in the field. Brian Loopstra and Dave McGregor, making his comeback to National Championship rallying, were lying second in Class B, while Brian Scott and Cedric Fryer were lying 6th in Class A in their Volkswagen Golf. Cliff Blackman and Koen Labuschagne in the ex-Habik Nissan Skyline rolled their car out of the rally in this stage, fortunately with no injuries to the crew. But the action isn't just up front. Some of the back markers lower down the field also see to it that spectators and cameramen keep their eyes on the action. This is the Golf team of Douglas de Kock, the current Free State Rally champion, and Peter Butma. The last car to start, but by no means the last to finish, was the only Mazda 323 in the field, that of Gordon and Darrell Neal of Alberton. After 7 special stages out of 15, the crews had a well-earned half an hour to rest while the service crews moved in to do the necessary servicing and repairs. Damso was still leading the rally by 36 seconds, but Hannes Grobler had now moved up into 2nd place, 1 second ahead of Yanni Habik. Kuhn was 4th, 15 seconds further back. The scene was now truly set for a memorable battle for the overall lead in the first event of the 1994 National Rally Championship. The time difference between Damso in the leading car and Kuhn in 4th spot was a mere 52 seconds, and a mistake by any of the leaders could drastically change the complexion of the rally. Apart from that, there was a close battle being fought for the lead in Class C, well ahead of the Class B cars, with only 7 seconds separating the 2 contenders. In Class B, Brady Dabner had it almost sewn up, while in Class D, Gerhard Law was leading by a large margin. Nuno de Cunha and Paul Riard in the Nissan Sentra hadn't had any serious problems so far, and they were still lying a comfortable 5th. This is the leading Class C car, Etienne Lourens and Robert Paisley in their Toyota Conquest. Jürgen Fecken and Neil Fourie, another team benefiting from the Total Support Programme, lying 5th in Class C. Damso and Bonafide had won both Stage 8 and 9, and they were now pushing to increase the gap of 1 minute and 3 seconds between themselves and the second car. Eliseo Miranda and Francois Pretorius still going strong, even though they were driving unofficially now. Yanni Habik was driving like a man with a mission because he still hadn't been able to catch up with Hannes Grobler again. After stage 9, the gap between them was 11 seconds. Habik was behind Hannes Grobler going into stage 10. Grobler had taken 3 seconds off Habik in stage 8 and 7 in stage 9, but he was to lose that advantage in the 10th stage when Habik beat him by 24 seconds. Also having problems were Nuno da Cunha and Paul Riard in the other centre, breaking a side shaft and losing valuable time. And this caused a delay for a frustrated Enzo Kuhn, who had to contend with the dust of the slower car in front of him. Peter Altosky and Alan Bissett were still second in Class C, trailing by 9 seconds, but by winning this stage they went into the lead by 7 seconds. They went the right way, but a lot of others didn't. Alan Mitrovic is chairman of the National Rally Competition.